Well, hello, stranger. To artist in recovery, Mr. Darryl P. Haven't spoken in a while, haven't we? 12:46 on the West Coast time in the morning for Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024. I'm getting too many videos on other things and other topics on YouTube to really go over your particular situation over there. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with self checkouts I haven't done because I haven't got myself into a store in a hell of a long while. But I used to work retail hell. So tell me something I don't already know. And yes, I did work in a Walmart, eh, Wally World, Wally Mart, however you want to call it. Yeah, I worked in that for 5 years and some odd months. And we did start out with the self checkouts in there as well. They suck. You're going to be doing the checkouts, have a live body over there to do your work. Tradition, but it's also functionality. And self checkout is, I don't understand they have to get in and get out. But you still got to deal with the lines in the stores, you schnook. Yeah, I did call you a schnook on this one because you don't realize it, do you? Corporates want to save money. They want to make profits. Screw around with the prices left or right, not to mention with the employees' hours, salaries, and everything else. It's a complicated, convoluted situation we're working in retail hell about. Especially when you're working in service departments over here that have to depend upon the kindness of strangers coming into your particular territory to actually utilize your services. Now, when you're working in automotive, dude, I'm not just talking about doing oil services or changing tires. No, 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 no. You got to do the counter. You got to do the counter and be nice to people, even though they're being rotten as hell. Make sure you don't burn your bridges with management, otherwise really be getting your ass torn apart on that one. I don't like doing self checkout because I don't trust it. I've already had some issues already with a local Albertsons. So I prefer someone else to do it in the morning. But if they get the self checkouts in the morning, okay, no problem. I'll have to use them. It's only when I'm getting out of the house and trying to get stuff taken care of. But these days, since my little dog, has been having more issues, I'm stuck at home with the bugs and the bug war. You try having that one. Bug war. Roaches all around the place. Ugh. Also around the damn campus, too. Labor Day, we had the zero visitation because of a national holiday. So Tuesday came up. Nobody came out. Nobody came out. So I still have the problem with the bug war. Trap boxes are out here. Aren't they fun to deal with? But then dealing with your particular situation over here, you talk about college tuition situations. Do I know what it's like to go into college? Yes, I do. Without a loan. Back in the 80s, yeah. $5,000 if you're going into the universities. When you're going into community colleges, it's hundreds of dollars. And you still need to have money for that. Which meant you worked your ass off for the money. Didn't matter where, when, or how. You worked your ass off for that money. And when you did, I was actually able to pay off a semester or two. As long as I had a job that still gave me money, I was still saving up and still paying for the next semester. And the books, tattered old raggedy things to read upon. I can pull up a history book on English, actually on British rule, and see all these highlighters and pen marks in the used books that they keep recycling left and right in the bookstore. But they're usable. They're usable. They haven't fallen apart yet. They haven't been put on duct tape or anything else, so they're still usable and cheaper than hell. And the professor still goes over the same information. So, but that was back in the 80s. Not so much these days. Not so much these days. Back then, we didn't have I mean, we could try doing Polaroid, but that'd be expensive on the film. You just had to get photocopies of the books left and right. As long as you're in the library, you make photocopies like crazy and try to get the sections that you need. These days, I can cheat with a smartphone. I can take pictures of this thing. I can take pictures of whatever kind of materials I need, as long as the library's got the book. And I reserve it for a short time, about an hour. So I'm constantly using up megabytes on that one. For about one school year, I had to do that because I didn't have the money for the books. Things came up and I had to use school money for other things other than schoolwork. And as for tuition, because I am disabled, there are categories that I qualify for in my state of California. And I still qualify for FAFSA. Even for online courses, I do that, which I'm struggling through right now. I don't miss it. I miss going on a campus, though. Talking to students, talking to faculty out there, talking to staff out there, janitors, transportation, even administration. I miss them. I've been there just about a decade. Throws me off when they get a new building put in there because they have to get it upgraded. The older buildings that they actually had on the campus over at Antelope Valley College, Lancaster, California. Yeah, I'm doing a plug for these guys. Go Marauders. Anyway. It throws me off when they get a new building in there because the old buildings aren't not able to be retrofitted. So they've got to knock them down, and it takes about 2 years or 3 to put up a new building with more fanciful stuff in there. You can do an entire 2.5 years of working in a community college and just seeing a new building getting built up. That's what it looks like. We're dealing with disasters out here, dude. You're worried about your own numbers because you can't find the topics. Hell, there's a lot of topics on there unless you just go through it. You got an opinion about politics? You got an opinion about what the hell is going on with the Trump in his mouth? Come on. They've been talking about these damn things for weeks. At least 2 weeks they've got the Arlington story bounced around even on social media, even through Facebook on this damn thing. Out here in Roseman, California, we've got 2 or 3 groups that deals with our town. One of them's politically motivated. And these guys are going back and forth regarding Trump's mouth, and not to mention his own actions. From what people kept reading and trying to report from other things without quoting sources left and right, Trump was approached, and he accepted. But Biden and Harris wasn't accepted, and then the conservative Trumplicans were saying, see. No, because there's a thing called Hatch Act. What? No, that's made up. That's fake. Then I started throwing in links concerning about the Trump Act, not the Trump Act, but the Hatch Act. That's legit. I'm throwing legitimate sources over there. They're like, knowledge, no, back. And they're doing that shit to us. Keyboard warriors, all of them. Don't know their ass from a hot rock. When I start showing them data, they keep trying to show me something else, and that just doesn't jive because I put in a fact check over there saying, that's wrong. Well, the Facebook also gets it wrong as well. Their AI sucks. Speaking of which, can we talk about that little topic there? AI, artificial intelligence, a scary damn topic that eats up a hell of a lot more resources than anything else. I came across stories about this one this past week. In Colorado, developers want to build an AI factory. They want to build up this big, huge server. But it takes water and it takes electricity. It takes power to get this running and keep it running. And they don't know where they're going to get enough water and they don't know where they're going to get enough electricity. But this one developer is ready to do it. Because there's one major, one tech company out there who wants to get an AI server up there. AI is the big thing now. Everyone's going for the big thing. Why aren't you talking about artificial intelligence? Well, you're not up to speed on technology? Well, neither am I half the time anyway, but at least I can understand half the stuff anyway. And me being in science fiction all the time, or so used to, nothing being, it's nothing of artificial intelligence. It's just, I'm used to it. I'm a geek. What can I tell you? I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I'm a space nerd. I'm a space geek. My brother would hate talk like that when he was alive. He'd argue with people at the right. My brother's not a geek, a nerd. I said, yes, I am. You're on your own. Okay, Dave. He knew I could talk geek. I could talk science fiction, no problem. I know you talk about drugs. You can talk about now some alcohol will affect you, but other types of drugs that will affect your ass. And yes, I'm allowed to cuss because I'm not monetized. I'm not asking for money from people. I just tell them a story. I'm a storyteller. I think of myself that way. If I know good materials, I'll tell them a good story. Not to bullshit them, but just to inform them. But turn something into something reportable. I did that a couple of times when I was in my history class of U.S. history. One guy named David L. Lewis in there. This guy had a personality like you wouldn't believe. Hated Trump like crazy, and he made fun of Richard Nixon constantly. He always made his nasally impressions of the guy. And when I finally got wind of what kind of personality he is, I took a chance on a couple of essays. Damn if I didn't get an A because I snuck in there something that nobody else did. I turned the essay into a story. Gave him the information, but in a different format altogether. But I also discovered that some other professors out there aren't that liberal enough in their heads on creativity. Liberal arts, I may get away with it. But it depends on which particular history professor I'm going to deal with, who's got that little madness in them. That'll understand the change. So I have to do it the old-fashioned way. Getting the stories good there. And yeah, you're complaining about you're not connecting with the people, apparently. I suppose you're still going to have to plead with them to see what they want. Keep asking. Keep posting questions. Hell, even the cruise companies out there, actually the travel agents and the cruising industry poses questions all the time out there. Why don't you try throwing a few? There's something for you to work with. Me, I'm looking at the YouTubes and I'm looking at the local stuff, and I'm seeing the local stuff scaring the hell out of me more and more. You haven't dealt with that kind of issues in your territory, have you? Otherwise, we'd be hearing about it on the West Coast. About deformation of your landscape. They've got it out here on a local basis for that, for, I don't know, off and on like crazy. Ranchos Palos Verdes. Okay, let me put you through this one here, dude. Okay? You ready for me? I mean, are you serious? Okay, let's do this. I would like for you to put in a new tab. Okay? Doesn't matter if you're going to be doing your smartphone or on your computer at this point. You can do that. If you're using Google Maps or a map program of yourself, please do so. Where am I putting you to? Well, I'm certainly not putting you through Underland. That's for damn sure on that one. I'm going to Maps Google at this point. Because I want to look at my own coastline here, and I want you to see it. I've been putting a priest through this one. A guy named Reverend Ed Travers. I tried to turn you on this guy. I think you need to take a look at him. I think you need to. Calm me down a bit. Well, I don't know. He still helps. He knows a little bit about drug usage. He hadn't been through it, but he's a pretty good listener. I like this guy. I really do. Okay, so I'm looking at my hometown of Rosamond, California. So I'm going to wait for my computer to start catching up with me on this stuff. I'm trying to get the wider shot so I can get over to the West Coast. I'm going over by Port Los Angeles because out there is the Palos Verdes peninsula there. Looks like a butil, except it's rounded a bit. See, it's Huntington Beach and Long Beach out there. Once you see that Boot Hill, and you also see Port of Long Beach, and you see Port of Los Angeles, and you see that thing out there, right along the coastline. This is the thing that's been giving people nightmares for a long while, and even worse. I've been racking my brains over this one, dude. I've been racking my brains on how come it took this long. And how come they didn't find that second slide underneath there. I've been talking about this bastard here. Part of this landscape here is also connected with everything else we've got in geology. Look at your own ground outside. Nice areas. You're able to ride around through a little bit of hillsides. Once in a great while, you may feel some shaking underneath the ground. Movement. Maybe a hidden fault line. Maybe unsettling landscape because of too much liquid, making the ground a little bit more soupy underneath. So I'm going to throw a little kid's toy at you. You remember the old slip and slide? That yellow piece of plastic with holes sticking, holes in the thing where water's spewing out like crazy. You had to find a flat enough area that wasn't going to ruin your back or anything else, and you could just run up and slide on this damn plastic and water. We got that happening out here. We've had the rains happening a great deal, and we've had deformation of landscape, of ground swells. We've had portions sliding a bit. But no one for a long while had ever suspected that Rancho Palos Verdes is on a slope that hasn't stopped yet in a long while. They discover it has two slopes. Two of them, dude. Top portion of it, but there's only so much of a layer that you have. You got the people living on here, and you got your topsoil stuff. And then underneath you got your first soil layer over here. Water comes down through the rain and trickles in. Now, if they're able to, or if it's able to, it can just leak out the water somehow along the coastline if it could. But a long time ago, they never thought about doing these hydroaugers, sticking pipes into the soil to allow the groundwater to drain. Because if there's enough water in it, in the ground, we're talking slip and slide situation here. There's enough material on the top. There are canyons out there that are supposed to be draining the water out. There have been community fights of how to get rid of the excess water. Instead of having drainage systems that they have, They allowed the water to seep into the ground. They allowed water to seep into the ground. But unfortunately, it's building up to a point where we're getting a slip and slide situation here. The top portion, they're saying, is running a lot slower because there's a lot more pressure on top. You got a lot of material, man-made material on here. And because it's covered with asphalt, we have a lot of ground in this area that has plant life. But we also have streets. And sometimes these streets are leading up to other areas which channel the water away or allow some pullage. When it's pulling, when it's gathering in water and trying to seep slowly into it, it's, for some cases, it might be recharging the groundwater. But if there's too much water in there, it's issues. Up in your territory, I don't know if your minerals, I haven't checked it out, I should, about your neighborhood. Whether or not you've actually got minerals over there that are dissolvable in water. Limestone's one of them, calcium carbonate. She's up again. There's a lot of things that geology I could cram in your throat, down your throat on this one. Maybe a couple of videos on this one. Try to keep them short or a nice long one. How about that one? I've taken geology a long time ago. I had to because I live in earthquake country. You live close to fault lines yourself. You're living close to a major one in the waters. Hell, thousands of miles away, you've got Iceland. And it's a major volcanic activity. That's geology at work right there, pal. But the stuff happening at home? Oh, shit. Yeah, she's having issues. Give me some. I'm going to put you on pause, dude. Yeah, Mama's woke up. She was wondering where I was. She's still deaf, mostly, at least 99%. Very little she can hear. She's also mostly blind, but she still detects light and dark. So, and when she doesn't smell me in there, she's worrying. That's why she whined at me a great deal. Okay, we're talking about things here. Let me do another one. I want to do a part two. Gotta get my chain of thought going.